In this week's Parsha in Vayechi, we read about the death of Yaakov and also at the end, the death of Yosef. And there are some striking differences that really gave me pause for thought. And if you look at the death of Yaakov after he passes away, we're told that Yosef had him embalmed for 40 days, which it took. And then for 70 days after, all of Mitzrayim mourned the loss of Yaakov. And then we're told that because Yaakov had made Yosef swear that he would take him out of Mitzrayim and bury him in Marat Machpelah, where his father and mother and his grandfather and grandmother, and also he buried Leah was buried, and that he wanted to be buried there. That Yosef went to Paro and asked, and Paro told him, yes, you can go. And they left and they took the body of Yaakov with them to bury him there. And we're told that this was a great procession, that all of the house of Paro went with them, all of the brothers and everybody except for the small the children and animals that they left in Goshen. But there was massive amounts of people that went up from Mitzrayim to go to Marat Machpelah to bury Yaakov, and that this followed that 7 day mourning period. And then even when they left, they stopped at Goren Ha'atad, it says, and there was eulogies there for Yaakov, and everybody, it was a great mourning. There was a 7 day additional mourning period ordained, and that many people that we're told that along the way, the Canaanites even joined in, and it says in Sota that the Ishmaelim even joined in the end, and that there was massive mourning for this one person, Yaakov, who existed. And then when it comes to the death of Yosef, oddly enough, Yosef, who was this high, almost the highest position in all of Egypt, that saved the entire world from famine, and that provided, and that was an icon at the time. He was this really handsome, dynamic ruler, leader. Everybody knew his name. Everybody came to him for sustenance. He was exceedingly popular, but at his death, we're not told of any of this kind of mourning, mass mourning, or anything like that. And it just really struck me. And I really thought, why could this be? Why would this be? What is the difference in that time, in that day and age? I mean, we know, of course, that Yaakov was one of the Avot, but at that time, it was Yaakov, who was just, the father of then 12 tribes, as opposed to Yosef, who was the savior and the leader of all of Egypt. The mourning you would think would be much greater. And we're not told of any of that. So I think that really the reason why is something powerful. I think it has to do with what really, at the end of the day, what's going to really have people mourn and grieve the person that passes. And when I analyze Yaakov's life, it occurs to me that he went to great lengths his whole life to maintain peace. He might not have always gone about it in the right way, but the bottom line is what was important to him, what he valued, what he wanted, what he sought after was peace. You see it from the very beginning with him, fleeing from when he fled from Asaph and he went to the house of Lavan, and a few stories there, which shows that was key to him. That he never, even no matter what anyone had done to him, he always just looked, instead of making an issue out of it, of how to make things work. And he, even with his wives, when he was given Leah instead of Rachel, um, he didn't hold it against Leah. He did the work. He married Rachel, and when he left, he was afraid that of starting a whole fight with Lavan, even though it was really his right to leave. He had no reason why he had to stay. He paid his dues already. He could have left, but he didn't want that confrontation. He didn't want that anger. He knew it was going to be a really bad story. And so he left. And when he was going again on his way back and he was about to meet Esav, he did everything within his power to make peace. I mean, we always think of it as he was afraid. And yes, he might have been afraid, but fear can make a person go many different ways. And he just bent over backwards, sending gifts and praying and preparing and bowing 7 times towards him and saying nice things to him, to Esav, so that he wouldn't have a fight. And when Esav wanted him to go, he made an excuse so as not to hurt Esav's feelings. And then even when he had Yosef and the brothers had gone off, he said to Yosef, go when he said, go check on your brothers, says, check on Shalom Achicha, the peace of your brothers. See that they're at peace. Like he wanted Yosef to connect with them on that level of shalom. And he was very upset at Shimon and Levi with their reaction towards Dinah, because they created this whole bloodshed and this whole war. And he said he was angry. He was angry at the unnecessary bloodshed. He was angry that they were going to be conspicuous amongst the people. We see that that wasn't really the case. That people ended up fearing them, but he just wanted to get along with the neighboring peoples. He didn't want to fight and kill. And even though he might have had the power and the might, um, he doesn't think that might makes right. You have to act peaceful with the neighboring peoples. And this is something that was just a constant thread in his life. It was important to him, peace and peace with the surrounding peoples. And I think that's why when even in Vayechi, when we're seeing that he gives the blessings, um, there are many options for who he could have. We see that the Yehuda gets this amazing blessing of being in the Malchut and the kingdom, and really he's the one that the brothers will look up to, and that he will rule. And the reason why I think he chooses as this figure is because not because he's the only one who could. Yosef was a leader. So why not pick Yosef? Yosef proved himself, right? He's the leader of all Egypt. He's a proven leader, that he has these abilities, and he didn't pick him. And it could have been Shimon and Levi because they're so strong, and there's no way that people will rise up against them. They're such a force, Shimon and Levi together. But he didn't want the might makes right. He wants Yehuda, someone who actually was able to speak to the brothers and to get the brothers united. He wants peace and unity, and that was an impression he left on his children. That was an impression he left on the neighboring peoples in the countries he was in, and everybody felt that loss because when somebody who really cares and works for peace in her life leaves, there's a real big void. Real big void was something that is so necessary in this world, and that should really try and be the legacy for all of us. What we do in life, the most important thing should be, are we trying to bring peace between, start at home, our immediate loved ones, between our neighbors, between people when we're telling a story? Is this going to make somebody closer to somebody else, or is this going to distance them? I think the most important and valuable thing we can do in life is that whatever we're doing, we should say, is this going to bring greater peace into existence, or is it going to bring further rift? And that we see is the key thing. That is the most important thing. That is the thing that was mourned on such a high level because it was then lacking once Yaakov had died. With that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.